What's going on, everyone? Welcome to another episode of 100 Yards Football Sports Talk Radio. I'll be your host and producer this afternoon, Logan Landers. And join me as always, we are going to be talking about our Tennessee Volunteers weekly recap show. And join me, as we've seen here on the channel for the past handful of weeks, is the one and only Mr. Joey Klingscale, former Vol himself. Joey, how are you doing this afternoon?
I'm great. How are you today?
Can't complain one bit. It's a little bit chilly outside. I will say we are getting a pretty cold November already here in Georgia. So I had to bundle up a little bit this morning. But other than that, we are doing well here and excited to talk some Vols football. And, of course, can't forget our legend that we'll reveal later on in the program and our our player profile segment of the show. But once again, if you enjoy the episode, like, follow, share, and subscribe, Facebook, YouTube, and also go download our podcast. Well, Joey, getting things started here. We know Tennessee, they were off last week, and they were preparing for their game against New Mexico State with the Lobos. And what would you say is the game plan? They've had a little extra time to prep for New Mexico, and as expected, Tennessee is a heavy favorite in this ball game. So what do you think the coaching staff was up to during the bye week, getting these guys prepared?
Well, I think it was important for them to kind of regroup after the Oklahoma game, obviously, that was unsuccessful for them. So I think the second bye week came at the right time for Tennessee. They're able to regroup, to refocus, to hopefully understand that the season is not over. This is a big game because they're coming back, and now it's homecoming weekend, so you have a lot of people there. You have a lot of family in town. So there's a bit of a distraction there because it's homecoming weekend. But this is a game that if they go out and execute like they should win this game. But it all starts, the game plan for Tennessee leading into this game should be pretty simple. Offensively, what they want to do is they want to be able to start quickly. And what do I mean by start quickly? They want to be able to score right off the bat. They want to be able to reestablish the run game, which they didn't do very well versus Oklahoma. But I think they want to reestablish the run game. They want to develop more continuity in the offensive line. They want to be able to take vertical shots down the field offensively. And by doing so, they're able to open up the middle of the field and get the tight ends more involved in the game. So I think offensively, that's how they want to approach this game. Defensively, you want to get a lot of 3 and outs. Okay, this is a team that you should have a chance to dominate. Your defensive line should be able to reset the line of scrimmage on these guys. And you want to impose your will. You want a lot of 3 and outs. You want to create turnovers. You don't want to give up any explosive plays defensively. So I think this is an opportunity for them against what is supposed to be a lesser opponent to go out and play hard, play together, and hopefully not only win the game, but win the game impressively.
Yeah, I think that, with the Volunteers, they should have an easy time on defense this week. And I say that because, like I said, the defensive line, they should be able to feast on Logan Fife, who we see that when he gets a little bit of pressure on him, he is susceptible for throwing a few interceptions, 11 touchdowns and 11 interceptions on the year. So I think for turnover battles, when it comes to, fumbles, forced fumbles, interceptions, all those good things, I think Tennessee, they should, right? I say should be able to dominate in all aspects of that for this upcoming matchup here. But kind of looking, kind of to the sidelines here, Joey, and also in the front office, inside the buildings. Let's talk about the staff and also the administration here for the Volunteers, kind of moving forward as we know that they've had a successful run this year, but just kind of a few stumbling blocks along the way. What are maybe some looks kind of early on in the offseason or some tweaks that they can make to kind of end the year better, and also how they can improve going into the 2026 season?
Well, I think this is the bye weeks, but sure, you're getting later on in the year here. You have 3 or 4 games left. But this was an opportunity for them to really see what they have. They kind of know the pulse of the team right now, what they can do, what they can't do, what they need to improve on. And this is also a game where you have the opportunity to look at younger guys to play. Because as we all know, in today's world, in the transfer portal, you're going to lose players, guys who aren't happy with play time, guys who think they should be getting paid more money than you're going to lose players. Okay. So this is a time to reevaluate what you have, see the guys that you're going to invite back. Because basically all the scholarships that you give now, in today's world are 1-year deals. You can say you're on a 4-year scholarship, but really they are 1-year deals, because the university could say, well, you hadn't played up to your standard, and we want to bring someone else in, and they'll demote you. They won't take your scholarship away, but in today's world, that guy will say, well, I can go play at XYZ school, and he'll leave. So this is an opportunity to get some of those younger guys on the field in a game like this, and evaluate those guys. And I'm sure this was an opportunity for the staff to evaluate players, get on the phone, speak with agents, which all these guys have agents now, and not necessarily agents of the players you have, but just agents in general, to find out what players may enter the transfer portal. So all these are things that you have to look at, because college football has and will always be a big business. The players are just benefiting from it now. So it's an interesting time for Tennessee right now.
Yeah, and as you kind of start winding down the year here for Tennessee, of course, you want to take the guys, the seniors who, some who are going to get drafted here in the next couple of months, and those who they might go undrafted or whatnot. Get those guys some love on the field, obviously, get them a lot of playing time, and maybe for the guys who are talking about transferring, who are talking about going to another school or unhappy with their playing time, maybe kind of set them aside and get some of the young talent in there. We see also that, like you said, if you don't play that young talent, they are, more so now than ever, ready to jump ship. So,
right. And the thing about college football today is the guys you have on your team right now, you have to continue recruiting those guys.
Exactly.
It's not like they're yours and you're going to have them. It's like it's a never ending battle. If you have guys on your team, you have to recruit those guys 3 times, to assure that, to be assured that they won't transfer or go to another program or hit the portal, however you want to word it. But so you have to continue recruiting the guys you have, along with guys on the outside who can make you better.
I know everyone in that front office has been practicing their elevator pitches for weeks and months on end, like you said, with having to keep as many of these guys on the roster as you can. Like I said, well, also, having those guys move on and get some new, fresh recruits in. So it was already kind of a never-ending cycle, but it got ramped up to the next level, of course, once NIL became more readily available in college football. So, I think that with Tennessee, that they've got, they're always going to have a good talent pool, and we'll see, how many new guys get on the field here the next couple of weeks, and kind of tip the cap to those who have been on the field for years now for the Volunteers,
right,
as they move forward with their careers in the game. So going back here, we'll talk about Tennessee. So how do they go about maintaining their focus? Right, they're on the outside looking in. They are still a top 25 ranked team. So if I'm in the locker room, it's to my belief. Look, hey, we might be out of it for the top 12 for the college football playoff at this point. That's everyone's goal, but you still want to end the season on a high note. You want to end it ranked, and you want to hopefully, play spoiler for any teams you can, and continue to look good despite not winning the ultimate crown that everyone wants. But that's just how it goes some season. So what's the, if you're a player in the locker room, if you're on the sidelines, how do you keep the guys motivated as we get towards the end of the season?
Well, ultimately, the coaches will motivate you, but ultimately you have to be a self-motivated player. And what motivates players today? Okay, in today's football, which is different from when I played, a lot of these guys are motivated by money. They're motivated by the opportunity to, if not play here, to play somewhere else. So you're going to go out and you're going to play hard, because you may not be playing for this coaching staff. You may be playing for another coaching staff, to be seen. But you've developed friendships and brotherhoods on the team. So you're playing for that guy beside you too. You may be a young guy, but the guy beside you may be a junior or senior and may not have another opportunity to play football again. He may not be going to the next level. This may be it for him. So you're playing for those guys beside you as well. And there's still some big games left. I mean, the Florida game. When's the last time Tennessee won in Florida? And we'll talk about that later. But when's the last time Tennessee won in Florida? So you have that to play for. Then you have the big rivalry game in Vanderbilt to play for. But first and foremost, this will be the last homecoming game for a few people. And it'll be the last homecoming game for some of those guys who are going to transfer. to maybe smaller programs. So there's still a lot to play for. You may not be going to the playoffs this year, but there's still a lot to play for. And who knows who you may face in a bowl game. You may be facing a Miami in a bowl game. So that'll be a big game as well. So there's still a lot of things to look forward to going down the stretch, although you're not the playoffs is probably not in Tennessee's future.
And I will say here, Joey, we'll just do a brief preview for this, but you did mention Florida with the Gators. They are right around the corner. And for Tennessee, you got to win it. I mean, that is, bragging rights. That's SEC battles right there. So just, real brief, because obviously we'll talk more about it next week. But with that game right around the corner here for Tennessee, obviously want to beat up on the Gators. What has to happen? What do they have to continue to do in order to get back on track to end the season on a high note and ultimately, like I said, beat a rival with the Florida Gators?
Well, hopefully, along with preparing and when I say preparing, I mean the coaching staff, along with preparing for New Mexico State, you were doing early prep work on Florida. Okay, so you were able to look at Florida. You were hopefully able to get in the game plan where you're able to break some tendencies that you've had on maybe second or third down, give them a different look. But ultimately, you have to attack the things, your strengths against their weaknesses. Okay, so you have to be committed to the run, especially on the road. Okay, so we're going down to Gainesville, which has been a while since we've won in Gainesville, but we have to be able to be a composed team, limit their opportunities because they're going to have a crowd behind them. We need to be able to take the crowd out of the game early, run the ball, limit our turnovers, and cause turnovers on defense. So those are the things, those are the keys to success, obviously, when you especially playing on the road against a team like Florida who has gone through some turmoil this year. They really haven't been out of a lot of games this year. So they play hard, especially early. But if you take the fight to them early, you give them a reason to quit because they'll start feeling sorry for themselves. New coaching staff. Their head coach is fired. They haven't won a big game this year. So Tennessee would be a big game for them to win if they can pull it off.
Yeah, and just doing some quick research here, I see that the last time that Tennessee won on the road in Gainesville against Florida, it was 22 years ago, back in 2003. And look, we know Florida not, a couple of years after that in the kind of late 2000s, 2010s, they went on a tear, of course, with Tim Tebow and the rest of those guys who, had went to the league and put up great careers there. But so it's been 22 years in the making for Tennessee. Like I said, won some home games, obviously, in that time, but have not won down there in the swamp in quite some time. But we'll talk more about that game next week here on the program. But Joey, as you know, as we like to do each and every single week here on the channel, we'd like to go back in time and talk about some of Tennessee's greatest players, historical figures, and just kind of, shine some light on their career. And today, there might not be many, if not any, more important than Conridge Holloway here you see on the screen. And just all over the Tennessee in terms of just their encyclopedia with historic players, with great quarterbacks, just great people. I mean, it's hard to mention that school and all-time great players without mentioning number 7 you see here on the screen, Conridge Holloway. What was the main reason you went here, Joey, with picking Conridge this week?
Well, I'm going to say Conridge Holloway was probably the most important player in Tennessee football history. He was the first African-American quarterback. He came from Alabama, where he could not play quarterback. Bear Bryant really liked him from all the stories I was told, but the state of Alabama was not ready to have a black quarterback. And he wanted to play quarterback, and he decided to come to Tennessee. And not only was he the first black starting quarterback in the SEC, he was also the first black baseball player on the University of Tennessee baseball team. And ironically, he was the number 4 overall pick in the 1971 baseball draft by the Montreal Expos and decided not to go play baseball and come to the University of Tennessee. So you're talking about a phenomenal athlete. Condrich is a phenomenal person. If you've ever had the opportunity to sit down and speak with him, which I have on many, many occasions, you would be supremely impressed, especially for a guy that's his size. But he was a phenomenal athlete with phenomenal ability and a phenomenal human being.
Yeah, just looking back at his career and, the history he's able to make by, like you said, becoming the first black quarterback at, not just Tennessee, but also just in the SEC. What was, phenomenal, breaking that barrier in the mid 70s, in the early mid 70s. And he wasn't just, a name in a history book for having that record. He put the work in, and he made his name known with his play. Obviously, we know he had a good arm, and he was, kind of well ahead of the time for that dual threat quarterback, we see now. There's a reason that he got the nickname the Artful Dodger, and that's because he's able to evade all those sacks and those tackles, those guys coming after him, and use his legs to create some space, get some first downs, and keep the plays alive. But with him, he had a great run at Tennessee from 72 through 74. And could get it done. Just like I said, just tremendous athlete, three-sport athlete in high school, played football as well as basketball. And as you mentioned, baseball, where he was drafted by the Montreal Expos, and he was the first also black player drafted by the Expos franchise, back in the 70s as well. So, another way he made history in the baseball realm, even though he did not go play for the team. I believe he was also at one point drafted by the Atlanta Braves a little bit later on after his junior season, but also chose not to play baseball and wanted to keep it on the field. And, he had a good career at Tennessee with the Volunteers. And like I said, 5'10". So, you look at the quarterbacks now, right? You look at the Kyler Murrays or the Tuas, and you always hear about, and those guys could barely see back there in the pocket. And with Condrich, he was, good height there, 5'10", but he could get it done. He could sling it, and he could run the rock as well. Just a phenomenal quarterback, and finished over 3,000 career passing yards, over 1,000 yards rushing on the ground. Went to the Tennessee Hall of Fame in '99, and also made a well career of himself in the Canadian Football League, playing with the Argos. Joey, talk to us a little bit about that. And someone who we always talk about, played for Tennessee, went to the NFL, had 10-year career. Condrich, he went the different route. He went over the border, went to Canada, and made a great career over there for himself.
He was a guy that obviously he wasn't given much of an opportunity to play in the NFL because the size at quarterback and what have you, especially in that day. He had broken a lot of obviously color barriers, and anytime you're the first at anything, it's always difficult. Yep. And he was the first a lot of times, and that tells you the kind of fortitude and character that Condrich possesses. But he went to Canada, and he had a great career in Canada, and he paved the way for guys like Warren Moon to come from the University of Washington to go to Canada and win all the Grey Cups. So Condrich, just the name Condrich Holloway alone, if you're in the African-American community and you're a football historian, it means a lot, especially in Tennessee. And especially for those guys playing quarterback early on, because he paved the way for a lot of guys that we know and some of the guys we don't know, that we don't hear about. He was the trendsetter for those guys.
Yeah, and of course we know Condrich. He won it all in Canada. He won their version of the Super Bowl their own way, and that is, of course, the Grey Cup. He won that in the 76 and 83 season with this play out there in Canada. So. Just a guy who set records, made history, and by all accounts is just an even better human being away from the field, from all stories and all those we've talked with. But just a phenomenal person here, Condrich Holloway, our legend here. We're profiling on the show, and we knew we had to get around to him eventually, and we're glad we were able to shine some light on him and talk about Condrich and his. Just history, the impact he made on not just Canadian football, but also with the Tennessee and the volunteer program. Well, Joey, before we end the show today, we'll get your final thoughts. Any other thoughts you have about either Condrich Holloway or, of course, with Tennessee upcoming matchup against the Lobos this upcoming weekend, of course, in Knoxville?
Well, as far as Condren, I mean, I could go on with accolades forever. He was that kind of athlete. He's that kind of person, individual. So Condren, like I said, in my opinion, he is the most important football player to ever walk through the gates of Neyland Stadium. But for this particular football team, the 2025 Vols, they still have a lot to play for. Again, you're playing for each other. You're playing for yourself. You're playing for, to finish strong during the season. And you're also playing for those guys, the reality of it, those guys that are going other places. You need to put good things on tape. You need to put good things on tape if you're staying. Because, again, it's a constant battle in today's NIL and portal world that we're in today. So you're constantly being evaluated, and that's just part of the process. So there's still a lot to play for.
Yes, there is. And, it's great kind of learning more, reading up on, watching interviews about Condren Holloway you see on the screen. Glad we were able to talk about him and highlight his career here on the show. And, of course, with Tennessee, they should be able to take care of business. No problem this week. It should just all kind of be, steady forward, keep marching ahead. And, hopefully on bigger fish to fry later on in the season. So I expect them to have a dominant performance and all things click well this upcoming weekend. So we'll see how that goes. We want to hear from you, though, in our comments section. Drop either a final score for Tennessee and New Mexico State this weekend, or you can drop your favorite story, favorite game, best highlight with the Artful Dodger and Condren Holloway in our comment section. Joey Klinkscale, as always, sir, pleasure having you on the program, talking some Tennessee, either football or Legends history with you. Always a great time. I've been your host and producer, Logan Landers. I want to enjoy your weekend, watch some Tennessee Vols football, and we'll see you again next week on the Vols